You're right. Welcome back to episode 2 of my cash game series here on YouTube. Had to wait a little while. I was hoping to get 1,000 likes on the first video, um, but I didn't. And I was gonna quit because I was sick of it really. But I'll fight the good fight. I'm gonna carry on. We're gonna carry on playing 2 cent, 5 cent, and I'm gonna show you how to win, or at least that was the plan. Turns out, played a few sessions off stream, obviously. And I'm a losing player at 2 cent, 5 cent. Confirmed. Absolutely 100% legitimate, bona fide 2 cent, 5 cent loser. We've played 1,900 hands. And we're down $35. Now, let me point out. Obviously, I am just joking. If you're new to poker, 2,000 hands is nothing. What have I learned on my 2,000 hands of 2 cent, 5 cent? One, people play very different against me because obviously I am a PokerStars sponsored pro. And when they see this little badge, and obviously I'm not tooting my own horn, but with the popularity of my stream, a lot of people in the player pool know who I am. And they say, oh, hey, Spraggy, I'm just going to play a pot and try and beat you. Or, like, oh, just, they play very, very differently because it's me. So I kind of got carried away. In this session a little bit. You'll see like the big drop. And I just started like bluffing every hand and like trying some stuff out and kind of fucking around a little bit. And we got smashed for like 7 buy-ins. Now that's on me. I'm not making excuses. It's up to me. It's my job to play as profitably as we can. So if players are adjusting against me, then I should make adjustments against them. What I found is people don't fold to me. Even more so than they wouldn't already at 2 cent, 5 cent. People who recognize me in the chat kind of battle me more. Some guy 5-bet me with 8-3 off and got there. Sure, I paid him off with ace-9, but it was an 8-high board and he jammed. Anyway, it's a long story, but definitely not my fault. But people just kind of clown on me a little bit. I need to be aware of that. I need to adjust to that. I think actually it gives me even more of an edge, so I shouldn't be able to use it as an excuse. I'm just wary of the audios. I don't know. Maybe I think it's fine. I'm sure you guys can hear me. Turn it up if you can't. All right. So first video, a lot of positive feedback. I appreciate that. Everyone seemed to enjoy it, and everybody on the stream. Which, if you're not following, if for some reason you're watching here on YouTube, you don't follow me on Twitch, you can follow my Twitch. Spraggy.tv is a shortcut, or twitch.tv/Spraggy. Follow me on Twitter at Spraggy to keep up with everything. But yeah, we're down 7 buy-ins. We're going to put it right. I'm not going to waffle on too much. Just quickly, I will say, just so you don't think I'm a complete idiot. This is our tournaments that we've been playing on stream. We had a good week last week. That's why I've been a bit slow on the video uptakes. I've been busy playing tournaments live on stream. But yeah, we won like $13,000 US. So we're on a bit of an uptick there. This is year to date. So this is start of January to, it's the 2nd of March right now. Or 1st of March, late night, 2nd of March, whatever. So 2 months, we're up 13K. Long may that continue. But more importantly for these videos, 2 cent, 5 cent, we're in a fucking hole. Let's sort it out. How you doing? Like I said, I did want to make 1,000 likes, but didn't get there. But we had a very, very positive like to dislike ratio. My thought is that at the moment, the people watching these videos are the people... That clicking's probably really loud, actually. You'll just have to stomach it. The people watching these videos are most likely people who enjoy my stream. So they're already friendly towards me. The channel hasn't branched out into the wider YouTube community yet. So I'm yet to experience all the like angry YouTube people who just hate every single hand of poker that ever gets played on this platform. Open the 10-5 of hearts on the button's probably a little bit wide. Probably a little bit outrageous, but we do flop red cards, which is good. We're going to bet. I think our opponent is going to have a lot of ace-x hands, unlikely to fold. We are going to fold out some queens, though, some king-high floats, like king-jack, king-10, and some jack-10. Actually, jack-10 probably peels, and we do have a 10, so maybe barreling not so good. Let's check. Even though we've got a flush draw, we've got to think about betting our flush draw here is only good if our opponent's ever going to fold. And they're never going to fold an ace. They might get sticky with a queen, and we block some of the king-10, jack-10 that's going to call once and fold. So I actually think I'm giving up with this at the river. End up having pocket 7s, and that sucks because it's certainly one of the hands that we could have gotten to fold. That's probably why this graph's on the fucking nosedive, eh? No. Not too much worse king X here that can call 3 streets, but there is, it's a very draw heavy board. in terms of our opponent's in-position flat range, so we can get some value from 10x as well. I think we should be betting. Versus 3x open, I mean, I guess we can still defend 10-9, obviously flop very well. Ace is a very decent turn for us because our opponent's likely to check back a lot of ace highs and have it often. The problem with check raising is I think we generate a lot of folds. We're probably better off just like going for 2 big sizes. You're always going to have more fold equity if your opponent bets and then faces a raise, rather than just you making 1 bet. The min raise on the turn is super, super scary. It's very, very nutted. I don't think they raise like ace jack, ace queen, ace king too often. I think they are going to have some flushes, although kind of likely that they'd bet a flush draw. I don't think we should fold the hand though. I guess they're going to have some silly clicks very often, or somewhat often, for 30 cents. Maybe they do just raise an ace occasionally as well. Let's take a look. They raise ace queen on the turn. Travel back in time quickly. This should work. Yeah. They raise ace queen of clubs. But I don't think we should 3-bet the turn. I think just calling is good. And getting ourselves to showdown. Stop flashing my losing graph. What am I doing? King's here, ace I board, multi-way. Heads up versus the big blind, we should be betting. Because our opponent's going to defend a very wide range of hands, and versus a small bet, they have to call a lot of those hands, otherwise we just instantly make chips. So they're going to call all their 8s, they're going to call all their jacks, they're going to call diamonds. Multi-way though, I think we should be more inclined to check. Especially in these games, I think if people are going to play wider ranges, almost certainly they just dip into the ace-x, right? Like ordinarily you might see some like ace-x not come along, either small blind or big blind, but at 2 cent, 5 cent, like if people have got an ace, they probably just take a flop a lot. So ranges are going to be a lot more like ace-x dense. We are just folding turn. And we're raising 7-9 of hearts on the turn. Pre-flop, idiot. We get 3-bet. We are going to fold out of position. If we were completely connected, 7-8 is probably a call, 8-9 is probably a call, 7-9 less so. Our hand needs to be stronger to counteract our being out of position disadvantage and our lack of initiative disadvantage. So it's really not a spot we want to be peeling particularly wide. Calling pre-flop here. Blind v blind is very important that you get very sticky. So like king 8-3 rainbow here. Let's say our opponent bets 1/3 pot. Can't fold ace high. Can't fold ace high. As played, we're going to check. That's just because people raise very wide. They bet very wide. If you want to get into the maths of it, you should be looking at like if you want to like look at a minimum defense frequency. There are definitely times when playing a minimum defense frequency is not going to be in your benefit. That is to say, defending enough of the time that our opponent can't make immediately profitable bets. But I think blind versus blind is one of them. That's just because, like I say, people raise very wide. They see bet very wide. That you really shouldn't fold to it very often. Here, we get check raised. We're going to call, but we're very, very upset about it. So if you want to work out your minimum defense frequency, you want to go 1 divided by 1 plus a pot size bet. So if someone bets 1/3, you go 1 divided by 1 plus a third pot. So 1 divided by 1.3, and you're going to come out at 76 or 0.76, which you times by 100 to get a defending frequency. So you should defend 76% of the time versus the 1/3 pot size bet. So you need to defend 75% of your range, or your opponent can profitably bet any 2 cards. Now, there are certainly situations like, let's say the button opens and you call big blind, or under the gun opens and you call big blind and they bet 1/3. Like, their range is very strong. If you're trying to hit MDF there, you're probably going to get punished on later streets. You're not going to be able to like show their hands and stuff. So there are times where it's not going to be appropriate because people just aren't going to be bluffing you enough. So you can exploit by folding more. Or range is too strong, you can exploit by folding more. But these are all concepts. Even at 2 cent, 5 cent, you should start thinking about. But blind v blind is one where you're fine to just peel a lot because people just like mindlessly raise and c-bet all sorts of boards, or limp and stab all sorts of boards. So obviously with that as well, the bigger the bet, the less you have to defend, right? So if your opponent bets pot, very easy maths, 1 divided by 1 plus pot size bet is 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. So versus a pot size bet, you only need to defend 50% of your range. And again, there are situations where that is and isn't appropriate. Here, I think we are going to want to bluff. Another big thing, I think a big leak of players at this stake is that they're too content to try and take hands to showdown. So like there with the ace high, king's a really good card for us when we check back, especially not c-betting 9-8-6. We are going to fold out so many like middling hands. I'm loath to raise a pot size bet on the turn. I think we can call. A hand is still going to be good occasionally versus like barreled backdoor clubs. End up having queen 8. Yeah, so I think in general people don't turn showdown value into a bluff enough and kind of just too content to take a showdown. But in that spot, like 9-8-6, turn as a king, you're going to lose to some dummy 6x, 7x way too often. I definitely think you should be bluffing some ace highs. Obviously a good flop. We have such a huge advantage over our opponent's hand here that we want to keep his range wide. We're going to go for a small bet and then size up on the turn. When we bet the flop, his range narrows, right? So he's going to have more queen x, more flushes, flush draws, excuse me, straight draws, 9x. So now I think we should be sizing up, try and maximize our value a bit more. Table 1, very interesting. There was an ISO, there was a limp, there was an ISO to 20 cents, a call. We made it 15, we made it 70. And now we're betting king 5-6. Turn is not great. People get very scared of flushes. I'm not so worried about like my hand being dead a lot. I'm more worried about him like just folding king 10 if we barrel. We'll get back to that. We are going to make a third street value bet here. Still targeting king queen, queen jack, queen 10, queen 7. Diamond Smith, so maybe like a stubborn 9x again. I think we will check back here on the diamond completing turn. Just because people shit themselves so frequently. Ace of Diamonds is actually not that bad of a card for us. Because if we think about our opponent's range, they're not going to have that many... they're not going to have that many offsuit hands that call here. So it's not like they probably don't get here with like king jack offsuit. Calling pre and then calling a 3-bet. But they can very easily have king high flushes, jack high flushes, queen high flushes. So we are going to fold. But I don't think like the river... I don't think they get there on the river that often. Just because they don't have that many offsuit combos that call and then call again to the 3-bet. I'd say there's a very good chance they just turned the flush there. As daft as that may sound. Certainly don't think they're bluffing often enough. We just spoke about people not really turning showdown value into bluffs. So it's very hard to put them on bluffs when they call the 3-bet and then peel king 5-6, excuse me. Maybe like 7-8 suited for like 3 combos, but more combos of flushes. Yeah, raising jacks, getting 3-bet, not folding. When they 3-bet are under the gun open, I do think we should be a little bit more concerned. So I think calling is fine, rather than just 4-bet trying to play for stacks. Over here we 3-bet, draw heavy board, we're going to size up with our ace-king. On the king 7-8. Again, a pretty mediocre turn. They are going to have a flush sometimes. 9-10 gets there as well. Again, it might be another spot where we can check back, honestly. Definitely not folding this flop. Turn very miserable. Gonna check back. We get another absolute nutwurst river card. I think a lot of the logic in the chat or in the comments here might be that you got these 2 bad river cards and like we should be protecting our hand more, but I really don't think that is the case. And again, we're not going to see many offsuit combos here, so like the actual 4th heart doesn't improve them that often. We're going to showdown. And they did indeed turn a flush, so vindication for my check. I'll take it. We get off pretty lightly there. Here we get off pretty lightly as well. We're having a bit of a run bad session, but I think we're minimizing losses on these coolers. Obviously ace king versus 5-6 3-bet pot. They turn a flush, we check back, don't pay river. And then here the ace I turn kind of saved us, but 3-bet pre. And I think this is a pretty tight range, 3-bet and versus under the gun, so I do think you don't want to be 4-betting here too often at 2 cent, 5 cent. Calling one on the flop, then it just goes check, 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 and queens are good. Back to real time. So far, we are losing today again. Wow. 50 hands and nothing but downswing. But We have run jacks into queens and top pair, top kicker into a flush and a 3-bet pot, and we're only down $4. So sometimes those sessions are going to go like that, right? Like, just get shit on and minimize. Very strategy heavy episode, this, isn't it? Very strategy heavy episode, very serious. Normally we don't want to be calling too much queen jack offsuit at position, but when people have got a broken stack, like a $2.83 broken stack, I tend to think that they're more likely to be recreational players, and thus we can exploit them significantly post-flop, that we can make some more marginal pre-flop defends. Here we are going to bluff, and they give it up. That's nice. Recreational players like that as well are just more likely to like not apply pressure to your top pairs. Like, their bet once, we can call, and then we can, like, you know, they're not going to triple barrel bluff us. We don't have like particularly miserable decisions. They're just going to play pretty face up. So I think we can go to battle against them a little bit more. This is a weird spot, right? Because it's a very bad board for jacks. But versus big blind, like, our opponent's range is very wide. We should probably just be betting anything that we raise with here. There is some value to be had, although like jacks particularly is not great because we're blocking queen jack and jack 10 on the flop. Actually, jacks could be one of the very few hands that wants to check back, just because, let's say we have a hand like pocket sixes, I think we should bet, because denying equity against 8-9 is beneficial for us. But against jacks, there aren't really many overs that can bink. Like, what he's going to have, like queen 10, he's going to have, you know, 3 outs to the over. We block the jacks as well. It's like jacks might be one of the very, very few hands that wants to check this board. But in general, when we open under the gun versus big blind, we should just be betting pretty much everything small. And the fact that we block queen jack and jack 10 makes this a particularly unattractive bluff catcher at the river, because it requires our opponent to call what that they're bluffing with. Very, very few hands that want to bluff here. 4-5 maybe for the wheel. But I think we can actually just get away by folding here. Against Willie. Cool, cool. Great stuff, isn't it? So this is how you lose every pot at 2 cent, 5 cent over a 50 hand sample. But as you can see, the stake is still very beatable. You got someone just shoving $5 here. 100 big blinds. Honestly, if you put any reasonable amount of thought into what you're doing, from what I've seen over 2,000 hands, now I know I'm losing, but from what I've seen, this game is very, very much beatable. That should not come as a surprise. And hopefully, over the coming weeks, I'm going to show you how to beat it. And if not, I'll quit YouTube, run back to a hole, and just keep playing on Twitch. These are boards we don't want to do too much betting on out of position. They're going to hit the in position flat very well. I'm especially less inclined to bet versus someone who recognizes me, because I think they'll get real stubborn. That's not to say that we're folding here. Honestly, check call is going to be okay. You can check raise sometimes too. I think Morty way, I think we'll just try and roll one off. And it's important that we play some Jack X like this as well on these connected boards out of position, certainly some 10x. And then we go for check raise with like queens, kings, aces. This might be a better candidate to check raise actually, just because we have decent draw, but we have 2 unders. Like king, queen, I think we'd be more likely to call just because we can bink overs, but this probably requires a little bit more fold equity to continue. So maybe raising the flop a little better. Interesting one here. I think we want to be check raising a decent amount versus button continuations. And we should be looking for hands that pick up backdoor equity. So like here we have the backdoor flush draw, we have the backdoor straight draw, and we have overs to the 4 and the 3. Like if he pills a 4, we have the 7 and the king. 6 is certainly a better card for us. We are going to bluff some 5-7 that get there, things like that, and we pick up equity, so betting is going to be good. You have to remember that like people open button and c-bet so wide. Like that's like day one of poker, that's what you're taught to do, right? Is raise your button because position's good, and then continuation bet. And especially versus big blind, because you know they're just folding a lot. So you have to find check raises from the big blind, and I think you're going to find that people don't defend enough to the check raise. So any sort of reasonable backdoor equity you have there, you should be trying to find check raises. Now look for like 10-4-3. Let's say the board is Jack 7-3. You should be looking for hands, or like let's say it's like King 7-3. You should be looking to check raise hands. Obviously, check raising some King X, some like strong King X is fine. But you don't want to check raise where you have unders. So like King 7-3, you don't want to check raise like Queen 6. Because if they continue with a 7, your 6 is dust. But like, let's say you check raise Queen 8 or Queen 9 with some backdoor straight draws both ways. Then if they defend a 7, you have an additional out to make the 9 as well, right? So just be very considerate when you're making check raises. Where you're taking your bluffs from and try and maximize your potential to improve. Whilst not being too nitty with it, right? Like, say like Queen 4-5. You're probably going to be already check raising like 6-7 and 7-8 for the straight draws. But like, versus a button continue should be check raising a whole lot more, most likely, than just your straight draws. So you need to find bluffs from elsewhere. And those backdoor flush draws are definitely reasonable candidates. Backdoor flush draws, straight draws with some overs to the bottom 2, you know. Gonna lead the 10. Ace-X gets pot controlled super hard. This was a situation where the flop checked through. But I think people are still going to check back here with like Ace-3 and stuff like that. He just flats the nut flush, which... Cool, man. But I like our lead. I think we should be getting value. Obviously, we're ahead when we call turn. But cooler. How do I feel about his river flat? Probably good. Probably pretty good. I'm not going to bet call trips. I'm going to have some full houses. Potentially. Although I did check flop. Man, we're already at 20 minutes, 22 minutes. I don't know what you guys think is a reasonable length for these videos. I think somewhere between 20 and 30 is good. Probably closer to 30. So we'll carry on. We'll go on until we actually win a pot of any significance, because we've not done that. I don't think through any fault of my own. What's this, a limped pot? Limp from under the gun. Uninspiring. Definitely think we should be avoiding limps. I've actually made the mistake a couple times this session myself of limping in the small blind. But important to note that there is rake. So obviously a percentage of the pot is being taken out by the site. It is not raked if we win pre-flop, right? So we are more incentivized to like raise from the small blind versus big blind and just try and get a fold pre, rather than limp and some of that money comes out of the pot. So like here, I don't think we should complete the 9-deuce suited, for example. Whereas in a tournament, we probably would. Small considerations, but worthwhile. Maybe I should play until we're winning this session. We're currently down a buy-in, $5. Am I allowed to do like a 3 or 4 hour upload? Maybe I'll just break it up into some different episodes. I'm going to 3-bet the 9s from the big blind. Again, very wide button steal. Hand's going to do pretty well. Against that range, honestly, if we get 4-bet, we can consider an all-in as well. We do get a small 4-bet. How do I feel about this at 2 cent, 5 cent? Miserable, honestly, because there's not that much pre-flop aggression. Maybe I'm over-adjusting by jamming here. It's an interesting thought that this might be good for me, but not for you, because my badge might mean that he's like, I'm going to play back and beat this guy. That 9s becomes a jam. I think I just have it in my head that we need to be jamming here. Alright, well, we got to flip. Resume hand. Run it twice. One of the good guys. Can we hold? No! Alright, we're still down. We are being raised on a King 4-7 rainbow board when we have a set. That's excellent. I think we're going to see a bunch of kings and some silly bluffs. All the kings probably keep betting. All the silly bluffs hopefully do, so calling's good. Don't need to protect our hand. Turn's a bit miserable. 5-6 does get there, which is like the obvious natural bluff that we just spoke about. And there's some action killing rivers, right? Like a spade or like a 5 or a 6. But still think we're going to slow play. It is a 5. I don't think they have that much 6x. If they raised 6-8 as a bluff on the flop, they bet river themselves. If they raised 5-6, they bet river themselves. So I think they're more likely to have like king 4, king queen, king 10, king jack. Maybe ace king if they flat pre. So we should value bet for sure. We get paid. It's going to suck if he had pocket 4s, but he had pocket 9s. Which is a very thin check raise, a very thin everything really. Turn bet, river call. But again, people just making, you know, these are mistakes. We have to expect that at this blind limit. And that's no disrespect. You know, poker's a fun game. People playing $5 poker for fun, of course. Like, whatever. It's always insane to me that people, like, you know, people just come here to have a good time and play some cards. It's not always about trying to win. That's not the enjoyment for them. The enjoyment is trying to bluff somebody or, you know, just trying to win pots, whatever. And that's what poker should be about. Fuck people who are just here to constantly squeeze EV, right? But at the same time, I assume most people watching this video series are watching it because they have at least some interest in either goofing around with me, which is great, or trying to get better at the game, which is also cool. Why not? We're going to barrel. They do have a lot more 2 pairs than me and flushes than me and straights than me. Normally this is a reason for us not to bet. But some of those are going to raise the flop. We do have equity with a gut shot and a 10 of hearts. And we got to find some bluffs, so we're going to bluff that one. We 3-bet here with queen 7. Bit wide, but there is a tendency in the big blind just to call too often, where people are like, okay, I get a great price, I'll call everything. But you got to find bluffs. A lot of the suited stuff wants to just call. Can use some offsuit ace X, offsuit king X, offsuit queen X. That's going to have some top pair value if you get called. Has some blocker value, especially like around the ace X ones that bluff. And they're a little bit disconnected enough to be playable. So like queen 10 and queen 9, and king jack, they're all playable, the offsuit. So you don't need to 3-bet those unless you want to 3-bet for value if your button opponent's like super loose or whatever. But in general, those are the sort of hands that you should be hitting for your bluffs. We're going to bluff when we defend big blind with 9-7. And they fold. Easy peasy. Hey, don't call it a comeback. Now we're only down half a buy-in. If only we'd have just run it once. I actually don't know why I have run it twice on. I'm going to turn it off. Gameplay. Run it twice. Never. We don't want to do that. Going to call the clubs in position against Groove Dash. Again, broken stack. Most likely playing for fun. Can go either here. Check back. Fine. Like win miles ahead of King Queen. Can bet, fine. Oh boy, there they are, sports fans. The aces. QWERTY Pony's going to raise. We're going to make it 60 cents. You want to go 4x out of position, typically. Can go bigger, the DPR might go bigger here, but I think 60 is good. Sucks. I run so bad. Life's so fucking hard. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to be me. People just fold when I get aces. Pfft. And I guarantee if I did that with 6-3 offsuit, they would just come along. Ain't that the way, huh? Reasonable board. Versus big blind. Very wide defend. Gonna bet big. We're allowed to bet big. We have all the nutted stuff. Sure. Gonna 3-bet this one from the small as well. Little aggressive. But again, we spoke about being incentivized to win pre-flop, so I don't think we want to have too many calls in the small blind. And versus a wide button open, I'm okay just applying some pressure with this one. Oh, okay, now you want to 4-bet me? When I had aces, they all fold. See, I told you, it's typical. Folding. Raising king jack of diamonds. We are probably going to bet. Very dry board. Backdoor equity as well with the diamonds. Now, I think the big blind comes along very wide. I do think we have some barrel opportunities here. A 9 is probably just calling once, always folding turn. We're gonna be value betting every single ace. You know, ace 10, ace jack, ace queen, ace 9, ace deuce. So we're allowed to have some bluffs. They're just gonna have a 9 and fold, and like pocket 7s and call 1 and fold. Min raise turn, scariest thing at 5 and L. Always folding. When we're bluffing, and we're at 30 minutes. I don't want this video to go too much longer. We are going to bet this board. Again, versus big blind, we're going to get value from a 5, from an 8. Can go either way on the turn. Check back, call river. Bet turn, check back. We block jack 9 and queen 9. 9-7 that might call again. I think that makes us more likely to want to check and try and bluff catch or check and value bet. Although we do require some protection. Let's just bet. When they don't raise the flop, it's very unlikely they're slow playing like 10-8 or 10-5 or 8-5 or pocket 5s, pocket 8s that want to raise now. Since it's a connected board, almost all of those are going to raise on the flop. So I don't think we get raised on the turn very often. Bad river. We do get good value against ace 8 though, which is cool. And got an interesting turn situation where we check all the flop. Our opponent bet. We now make an 8. I think a lot of their 10s bet the turn. They are going to have some 9s, but I might try and squeeze a small value bet for like a quarter pot blocker sizing. It's blind v blind, so range is very wide. Don't think queen deuce a bluff here too often either. And there's going to be hands like 6x, king 6 suited, queen 6 suited, jack 6. You know, all these hands that are just like, whatever, have 12 cents, take it. Not today. If we think it's a spot where our opponent overbluffs, we can check call as well, right? If we think that when we check the 4-liner, they just bluff everything, maybe we can check call that hand. Especially given they're going to barrel a 9 occasionally because they pick up a gut shot. Am I at this hole yet? There hasn't been that much of interest, but we are back on track, and I've kind of caught you up to date. We've gone over some strategy stuff, minimum defense frequencies, when to use, when not to use. Pot controlling and 3-bet pots we did some of. Yeah. So there's some takeaways. Definitely not our most entertaining half hour, but we are getting back on track. You're up to date, and we're gonna fucking fire off here as well. It's nice. How are we gonna go about this? Double flush draw board. Let's go for an overbet on the turn. Let's make ace 3 of diamonds hate its life. Let's make every 10x hate its life. Let's make some flush draws hate their life. We do have a double gut shot, 9 or a king. We are bet folding. We don't have enough equity to call off if they jam. It's going to be very strong if they jam. Probably have to triple though, because they might get real sticky with like ace 3, call turn, fold river, but overbet just gets it done. There you go. There's a spicy hand to finish. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to make plenty more of these. I'm back in zone with it now. You know what? It was kind of like a shame thing that I lost 7 buy-ins. I didn't want to show you, but I've confronted my fears. Let's sit out next big blind. If you've enjoyed it, like it, comment, any feedback. Not about the haircut. I know I'm going for a haircut tomorrow. Fucking relax, all right? I don't sit on here to be judged. Any other comments, questions about any hands, criticisms about any hands? We can have a reasonable discussion. This is YouTube after all. Thanks to everyone who enjoyed the last video. If you haven't subscribed, do that. If you like this video, like it. If you don't, dislike it. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter. Subscribe here. I've said all that. Just wasting time till we're not getting free hands anymore. That's another thing. When you're playing Zoom, always sit out on your next big blind. Play all your free hands. There you go. We're done. Get out of here. Thanks for watching. Bye.